drug testing. Drug testing is a possible solution to the drug abuse of teens and adults alike. According to recent data, 67.9% of all adult illegal drug users are employed full or part-time, as are most binge or heavy alcohol users. This is a problem facing America. We as a society cannot have drug users and heavy alcohol users being a part of America's workforce while there are good standing citizens who sit out and are unemployed. So, using drug testing, we can help weed out those who are abusing drugs and better improve our workforce. Ways to identify a user. The signs of a user are they change jobs frequently, they're typically late or absent from work, so say you're hungover from the game or something, you're not going to go to work the next day. That's also looking bad on your company. Also, they're less productive, and why would you want an employee who's going to be less productive for your company anyway? If you're trying to crank out a certain quota by the end of the month and you're pushing your deadline, you're not going to want an employee who's going to show up work high, drunk, anything like that, and is not going to be able to help you to push through that quota or even exceed it. And they're also more likely to be involved in workplace accidents or potentially harm others, as well as more likely to file a workman's comp claim. So again, as a company, you're not going to want someone on your workforce who is probably going to come back trying to sue you for money or something because they got hurt on the job, and it's even worse that they were high. So why should we drug test? Drug testing addresses safety issues as well as the violations of someone who is abusing drugs. It is also an active deterrent, which is going to help prevent people from using those drugs, because if I know there's a drug test at any given time, of course I'm not going to use it. And according to debate.org, students by 54% say that they would like to see drug testing implemented in schools, and if they see something is wrong with that, should we act in their best interest? I mean, it only makes sense to help give the best education that we can to students and allow them a drug-free workplace and drug-free school zone.
With safety issues in the workplace, there are many safety issues. If you're working construction, for being up on a ladder, if you're drunk or high, you're not going to have full motor skills with your hands, legs, and whatnot. So you got a potential of falling off the ladder, hurting yourself, and landing on someone else potentially. What would you consider a violation? Is a violation you have it in your system, but you're not from the night before or a couple nights before? Do you consider that a violation of the company quota on what is acceptable and what is not? Who will you test? Will you test your full-time employees or your part-time employees? With your new hires or your oldest workforce members? This will help ensure that everybody does not, because it shows that you are enforcing your rules upon all employees. What actions will happen? Will they get laid off for a certain amount of time and then you'll bring them back with a drug test before they can start working? Or will they just be fired completely, taken off payroll, and fired on the spot? Rehabilitation. Will you allow them to go get help to quit abusing drugs and then come back and be able to work more? With drug testing, will you conduct them on the pre-employment. So your new hires, will you make them have one before you put them on payroll and have them start working? Random, so are you just gonna say, I need 3 people and tell those 3 people that they have to do a drug test that day or the next day, whenever? Your post-accident, so like if they fall off a ladder, are you gonna make them do and get hurt? Are you gonna make them go and have a drug test to see if you're held responsible or they are? So a reasonable suspicion, like Drew said, if they're showing up late to work, being less productive, or just kind of walking around not really doing anything. And then if they have gone and had rehabilitation, or before they return to work, are they going to have a drug test? This will ensure the safety of your workforce.
Okay, and drug testing in schools, there's a lot of schools that do random drug testing, but we don't do random drug testing in our schools. I think that it would be really helpful for schools to do it. Some statistics, the $19 on average for the year for a student to be drug tested. They only would really need to test maybe a few students to get the point across that, hey, if you do drugs, you're going to get in trouble. Students that don't use drugs, they should have a right to a drug-free school where they can learn better and not get brought around people who do drugs, because sometimes it is tempting. Testing gives parents an opportunity for early prevention. So if they have a student that or a son or daughter that they think is on drugs, and they get tested early before they become an addict, they can start to change their ways. They won't become an addict if they know they're going to get in trouble for it. Drug testing in schools. I think that athletes should be drug tested. They not only test for marijuana and other drugs like that, but they can test for anabolic steroids. So you have a less likely chance of students using steroids. They know they're going to get caught using them, and that's not only good for our school, but for our whole country as one. Also, like students that do get caught early, they have a chance of going to rehab or going to a facility where they can get better. And then if they get caught in the addict position, they can also go to rehab and get better. So overall, drug testing in schools will be a very cost-effective way to prevent students from becoming drug addicts or helping the ones that already are drug addicts.
In conclusion, drug tests should be viewed as a common concern in workplaces and schools. Substance abuse prevention can and should be viewed as a common concern for employees, employers, and students. Most people don't want to deal with that because it deals with so much conflict when it comes to workplaces, and like during school, it's hard on your studying, especially if you're addicted to drugs. When misunderstandings about the testing process are clarified, drug testing has been proven a deterrent to illegal drug use and a way for workplaces and schools to be proactive in substance abuse prevention. Thanks for listening.